Like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, or this will be in your bed tonight. What is a double standard that really bothers you and you wish could change in the future? When trendy companies and wannabe activists force all of the responsibility of environmental protection on average citizens instead of the massive conglomerates that are constantly pumping literal tons of waste into the sky and ocean. But no, apparently it's because little ol' you forgot to bring your reusable shopping bag to the grocery store that the ice caps are melting and the world is on fire. This is why oil companies popularize the idea of a personal carbon footprint. Government action against polluting corporations is desperately needed. Electric cars are not a new invention. They appear to be recent because petrol companies wanted you to continue buying petrol from them. Men can't be trusted with kids, whether it's a babysitting job or a policy at my friend's daycare that she works where only the women can change diapers. Men are treated as though everyone is a pedophile. I had this happen to me taking my daughter to the park. Got weird looks until the moms kind of got used to me. I bore it in silence for the kids' sake. Time that really grinds my gears because it was so absurd. I do a sport that doesn't have a ton of women in it. One is a single mom in the beginner class which goes after my advanced class. I was cooling off and saw that her kid, who I think was 3, kept trying to get her attention and walk on the mats. Every time she had to stop and bring him off, tell him to play with his puzzle. So I sat with him and asked about the puzzle and started helping. The mother knew me, and this is a typical thing people in my gym do with each other's kids. When your kid is in the gym, others generally look out for them. She apologized multiple times, but I told her I have a kid as well and I look forward to bringing her. I have no problem watching her kid until she gets her sets in. One of the other beginner women walked into the class late. Instead of stepping on the mats, she sat with us and engaged the kid in awkward conversation. Like he was really into doing the puzzle with me, and we were talking about which Paw Patrol pup was our favorite, and that lady just kinda asked him about cars or something. Eventually the mom came over to thank me again and other lady walked off onto the mats. It didn't sit right with me until I realized she was watching me because God forbid I engage a kid like everyone else at the gym. I hope with time, she will pull her out of her ass. Similarly, parents' rooms, changing rooms often are seen as mom's rooms. Sometimes so far as being accessible from the women's toilets, even the ones that aren't. Men are often demonized for entering, even though they are parents, even though they have a child that needs changing. I get that some breastfeed in these rooms, but this generally happens in a private cubicle. Sure, get mad at the perv, they do exist, but leave the fathers just trying to change their child's nappy diaper alone. And as another segue to that, the pushing for the normalizing of breastfeeding in public. I have no problem with that, it's completely natural, but I hate the double standard of wanting freedom to do it anywhere, but also complaining about privacy. Morning people are supposedly professional and hardworking, but night owls are immature or lazy, like you can only be productive at 5 AM. I'm the most productive around 8-10 PM. At 5 AM I'm an inseparable part of my bed. I get the most work done at night when there is no distractions and everyone is sleeping. Completely agree with you on this one. That fathers aren't supposed to be alone with their kids without supervision. Or if the mom's with the kid she's being a parent, but if dad's alone it's all look who's babysitting. I've never dealt with people assuming I need supervision, but when people say I'm babysitting I tell them, no, I'm being a father, you jackass. I've told as a father I shouldn't ever change her diaper or bathe her. Vehicle inspections. My vehicle has to be roadworthy, but the roads don't have to be vehicle worthy. I actually love this. The inspection sticker on my truck is 2 years old now. Fuck 'em. People complaining about children spending too much time on devices whilst giving their 5-year-old an iPhone. What bugs me even worse is them complaining, bragging about how bad expensive Game Boys are so they bought their kids an iPad. You've spent more money for crappier games. Seriously, if the kid's gonna be glued to a screen, at least get something that's quality. Rather have a kid grow up with a Nintendo Switch and their first party library than YouTube and the freemium app games. Language. When native speakers give a hard time on non-native speakers for being unable to speak properly. Like, how are you going to bash someone when they're basically fluent in 2 languages and you can only speak one? SMH. I had a Chinese professor and he always said my English is not so good, but one thing's for sure, my English is better than your Chinese. He spoke the truth. Yeah, but he's a professor. My grade is reliant on him being understandable. Sorry, just having flashbacks with this one professor. His accent wasn't really the biggest problem. It was his volume. He shouts the first word then whispers the rest of the sentence. If a girl experiments with her sexuality, she's just experimenting. If a boy does it, he must be gay. ONDB sexuals deonTXESTS. As a bisexual woman with a boyfriend, I get frustrated when people tell me you have a boyfriend so you are straight. I am still attracted to women. Why is that so hard to understand? I have actually started calling myself pansexual because it's less gender oriented and stops people saying this stupid shit. I like pancakes. I also like waffles. Just because I'm eating waffles doesn't mean I stop liking pancakes. For me, it's the fact that male managers in my company are assertive, but because I'm a woman I'm bossy. When I don't just give a male client who is trying to back out of a signed deal what he wants, I'm told that by your tone. I reread those emails and see nothing but politeness. I forget where I read about it, but the experience that trans people have of either being suddenly given more credibility or having their credibility taken away from them after transitioning in certain circumstances suggests that it is a double standard. Also, the studies that have shown that when people reviewing resumes etc have information of race and gender, they tend to have unconscious negative bias toward women and people of color. I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that whether they realize it or not, people think women base decisions on emotions and men base them on facts. In terms of respect and expectations, husbands are placed higher than wives, yet mothers are placed higher than fathers. Honestly, that's just straight up weird. Never really put 2 and 2 together with this one. And that was literally my parental situation. My dad was the parent who was always around yet also worked a big career and was doing the parenting. And my mom wasn't and was what people usually associate with men. Absent, distant, with a substance problem. It's such a strange situation for my sibling and I to have experienced given the norms and stereotypes. And whenever I reveal that to people, it's met with resistance and dismissed, whether they're aware of it or not. That metalheads aren't murderers who sexually abuse dead children and sacrifice virgins to Satan. I'm a metalhead. I know the community. We're nothing like this. My parents are extremist Christians, and when I started listening to metal they got upset that I was possessed. Death metal songs don't always talk about atrocities. They talk about politics, stuff in life that matter. All the while my parents fully accept the music my younger brother listens, which talks about hookers, drugs and money. I can't believe this is still happening. That was like an 80s and 90s thing. Guess not. Metal is still misunderstood. Row. Dude, I once had the police called on me for wearing a dying fetus shirt that only had the logo. For the common eye it's pretty unreadable, and people thought I was going to sacrifice children while buying bread SMH. A woman hitting a man repeatedly in the face. Nobody steps in. The man hits the woman back once. Everybody steps in to stop him. Or the other part of that, a woman hits a man repeatedly, and he calls the police, and they arrest him. My housemate and I are very playful. I do the typical girl thing of playfully punching his arm or shoving him to the side. Obviously we're both laughing and having fun. One day, he returned the favor as I said something again. Playfully, that was a burn so to speak. So without thinking he playfully shoved me. I was cracking up laughing, not paying attention, and I have cerebral palsy, so I stumbled. Immediately someone began watching us and glaring at my housemate, while looking like they were about to come over. I had to smile at them and say something along the lines of, "Oh my god, I got you good," there for them to calm themselves. But the hundreds of times I've done the reverse, nobody has even looked up, and I had to then explain to my housemate why he can't get me back in public because he could get his ass handed to him for nothing at all simply cause someone wants to white knight and save my life that is in no danger. When woman teachers are caught having sex with boy teenagers, people basically act like it's an OHHES situation. When male teachers are caught having sex with teenagers girl, we all act like this pervert deserves death. Whenever I hear about a female teacher raping a male student, it's because she got arrested. From what I've seen in the media, admittedly this is anecdotal, men laugh it off, saying the boy was lucky, has the respect of his peers, etc. As the mom of a boy, I'd be out for blood. Same way I'd be as a mom of a daughter who was raped by a male teacher. An adult sleeping with a child is predatory and disgusting, regardless of gender. Spot on. I'm forever disgusted by my sister's Sil. Her Sil was a high school teacher, groomed a boy student, and then had sex with him at his house shortly after he turned 18. She was found out due to the student bragging to a friend who then told his parents. Sil relinquished her teaching license to not have her name be made public. The student's family are still trying to sue her last I heard. She did this while married with a 3-year-old at home. Disgusted doesn't quite capture my full hatred of what she did. Predatory behavior towards someone she should nurture as a teacher. Gross. My sister is divorcing her husband soon. Not related to this, and I'm so glad I won't have to interact with her much again. Women have so much expression in how they dress, but men have very little. I wish that would change. I don't know. I kind of enjoy the fact that I can wear the same suit to a funeral, a wedding, a cocktail party, a lounge, and a business meeting, whereas women feel pressure to have something different for all of the above. It can be fun, but it can also be frustrating and pricey. Most pro-life advocates will fight tooth and nail to protect a baby before it's born, but the moment it exits the womb it's on its own. No plans to reform the broken foster care system or adoption system they'll be stuck in. No concern for the backwards healthcare they'll receive. Now you can argue in favor of pro-life all you want, but have some logical consistency here. If you actually care about the babies, actually care about the babies. Also no concern for whether the mother can provide diapers, toys, clothes or formula, if she is unable to breastfeed, for the baby either. They care deeply about the 13 million children that go to bed hungry every night. They're trying to raise that number. LOL. Men can't be raped by women. It's an insult to men because they're assumed to always want sex, and or it's an insult to women because they're assumed to be too weak to overpower men. Riley Reid. Women's pain being disregarded by medical personnel as just being that time of the month. If a patient has taken the time out of their day to tell you how much pain they're in, why not take their word for it and do a proper examination? I kept having issues and was told I just have a low pain threshold and it's normal pain, etc. Finally got someone to take me seriously and it turned out to be a tumor on my uterus wall. I have endometriosis. As a teenager I was told I was faking it. I was needing attention and it was all in my head. I was 22 when I got my diagnosis and realized that I wasn't overreacting, that it was real. I have a high pain tolerance, so when I said it's my time of the month and I'm really hurting, I meant it. If a woman has sex with several men, she is a slew. If a man does the same, he gets a pat on the back and is a stud. If a woman has sex with a lot of men, she's called a slew. But if I do it all of a sudden, people call me gay. Talk about a double standard. Slew. People seem to accept the images of the cancerous lungs on some cigarette packages, but are too scared to see images of what would happen if their child goes to war or if you get COVID. Or, and I'm definitely talking to myself here, if they're very overweight. Or, and I'm definitely talking to myself here, if they're very overweight. I was that kid. Growing up I could never lose the weight, and I, as a highly active child, and my mom and grandma counted every bite of food that went in my mouth and the amount. I wasn't allowed to eat certain things and had to do X amount of bites, etc. I was always outside riding my bike or playing in the woods or running around our 10 acres of land playing with the goats, dogs, cats I had, or chasing snakes and frogs and snapping turtles. But the weight kept piling on. Went to DRs, all they said was cut back on my intake of food and stop being lazy. Here I am almost 40 and pushing 450 pounds and been over 400 pounds for 30 years and can't lose it, and do everything I can to try but it won't go away. Been trying to push for surgery but my insurance denies it. I drink soda once a week. I don't eat junk food or fast food but once a month. Tonight I had some beef roast, potatoes, carrots, onions for dinner. Not even a big helping. It's all I had all day and half a cup of almond milk. The rest of the day I hadn't eaten all day and hadn't been hungry all day. But yet just can't seem to shake the weight even though I eat pretty decently. On meds for my thyroid, low testosterone, and my weight goes up and down from 450 to 475 to 430, 420 and back to 450. Just can't get under 400. People are ashamed to be openly racist, but they shit all over gingers. Is that more of a thing in England? I've never seen gingerphobia in Canada. I don't know as I haven't lived in either country, but from English media it comes across as a thing there, mostly intended as friendly banter but sometimes unintentionally or intentionally hurtful. We are all equal, but some are more equal than others. Animals, I tell ya. Ran by pigs with Napoleon complexes. Anime manga. If my mom watches a drama for 4 hours when she gets home, she's fine. If my dad marathons an action series all day, he's fine. If my fully grown siblings decide to watch the new Disney DreamWorks animated flick, they're fine. But if me and my friends watch a couple episodes of Naruto or whatever on Hulu every now and again, we're abnormal. Same with video games. I'm a black woman. I love video games. My grandmother watches CNN Maternity Court for hours on end. When I get home from work, I want to play WoW. It's how I unwind. But suddenly I'm lazy and black ladies don't play video games. Why is watching TV for hours acceptable but video games is not? Or that any that do either are perverted or into hentai. The manga I've read has been primarily wholesome slice of life or more comedic, romantic, or even rom-coms. Everyone should be innocent until proven guilty. Unless I don't agree with them politically or personally, then fuck them. This so much blows my mind how many people think that they're helping by having hatred in their heart. If I want to join the army and go to war, carry a gun, and kill other people and watch my friends die, possibly die myself or be maimed to the point where I cannot function on my own, I can do that at 18. If I want to smoke a cigarette or drink a beer to deal with the fact that I just witnessed, I have to be 21. Also, you fight for the interests of billionaires, forced to murder people in their own villages for the sake of oil. The working class gets raped by the IRS for the tiniest little things, while multi-billionaires and corporate conglomerates fail to pay tons of taxes and get away with it. Funny thing is, most politicians act as if all these programs etc are going to be funded by taxing the rich in their speeches, when it's almost always the middle class that pays more comparatively by salary percentage. Because the IRS can't afford legal battles with the people actually stealing billions, so they go after bartenders for not claiming cash tips. Can't come into school from a physical illness, influenza, broken arm, etc, take a few days off. Can't make it cause a mental illness is making it difficult to do anything. OCD, depression, etc. School sure as hell doesn't care. As someone with both physical and mental health issues, my mental health is a lot more difficult for me to manage than my physical health. Both are a valid reason a kid might not be fit to go to school every morning. Not saying don't send kids with mental illness to school ever. But if I just got out of a psych hospital, give me at least half a week before I return. Same with work. The double standard for pedophiles. If the predator is a woman, then she just had sex. If the predator was a man, he raped. It's the same thing for both genders, they both raped a victim. Sexual consent always falls on the male, never the female. Definitely a double standard. But it's not too bad until you enter the realm of intoxication. I've read several articles stating that drunk people can't consent to sex, but what they are really saying is, drunk women can't consent to sex. What about the drunk man? Did she get his consent? Does anyone really care? I'm so glad I'm well past my college days. Edit. I reread your comment a few times and I think you meant asking for consent. Usually falls on the male. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. There have been plenty of times when I've been initiating sex with my boyfriend and he's told me no, he's not in the mood. I just backed off. I understood. Sometimes I'm not in the mood and he responds in kind. If you are initiating, I think consent should fall on the person who is being initiated. It's like when you ask someone a question. The answer must come from the person who received the question. You can't answer your own question. If the person is unable to answer, the answer is no. I absolutely believe that drunk men cannot consent to sex. No one who is drunk can. And I absolutely do care. I don't know if this counts or if this only happens to me, but I'm a female and I've started to ride a motorcycle, Kawasaki Ninja 300 I believe. I haven't taken it out to the real road as I'm only 14. My dad has taught me almost everything as he rides. Also, he makes sure I will be as safe and prepared as possible. So he got me gear. I was super grateful for knee gear as I have a problem with my knee. Anyways, I was at school and I heard this group of boys talking about dirt bikes and wanting to know how to ride an actual motorcycle but can't. Me, trying to be nice, come up to them and tell them it can't be that different. Only the motorcycle will be heavier, not the wear long laces on shoes, and you'll be fine. They looked at me weird and asked me how I knew all that stuff. I told them I ride a motorcycle and they start to quiz me about bikes. How to start, how to move, how to brake, how to switch gears, how to make turns, equipment, where the gear changer is, where the clutch it, etc. They were all smug about it like you can't get all these questions right. BTCH, I got them all right. They were pissed at me, saying girls can't ride and shooed me away. Never spoke to anyone at my school about motorcycles again. Does this belong here? Definitely belongs here. Happens with pretty much every male stereotype hobby interest. Definitely belongs here. Sorry boys suck. When you end up out on the road it will be 100x worse tbh. Girl riders are treated different. If you're on a cruiser, you're a lesbian. If you ride a crotch rocket, you're just looking for attention. If you ride solo and pass near a group they will catcall and be annoying. Good luck young one. Just do what makes you happy and ignore other opinions. Opinions are like a mess. Everyone has one and they all stank. Women being sexist or people any other than Caucasian being racist and somehow it being alright. I think it is double standard and I think it is wrong. Women hate on men yet hang around and date them. Racist stereotype whites yet expect to be treated like they aren't a piece of shit. Us LGBTQ people need to stand together and support each other, but not asexuals, because they aren't oppressed enough to count as LGBTQ. And those damn bisexuals because they're all secretly transphobic gays who worship Satan. Oh no, bisexuals don't exist. They are just gay or lesbian people suffering from internalized homophobia and denial. I feel icky just typing that. If you're awkward and attractive you're cute and funny. If you're awkward and not that attractive you're a creep. Unattractive people have to be confident and choose their words perfectly 24/7 to be taken seriously at all. It's not limited to the dating world either. Before any of you jump up my ass calling me an incel. No, I don't blame women for this, nor do I believe it's a problem unique to men. I'd even argue that it's tougher to be an unattractive woman than man by some metrics. It's only racism if it is against black people. I know right Asian and Native American people exist too. That a woman can be aggressive towards a man to the point where she'll start hitting him repeatedly on the head and the man either has to take it or has to let it go one for a certain time before he can defend himself, and even then he can only do so much before it's considered excessive. And people who might have been silent or laughing about the guy getting beaten are now ready to kill the guy and leave him to rot. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more interviews.